What does true leadership look like during a national crisis? Martha Teichner has been searching for answers.
As we come on the air tonight, the number of coronavirus cases in the United States is growing exponentially.
It's a different kind of reality TV. For a change, it's actually real.
Nowhere has been harder hit than right here in the New York metro area.
Must-see viewing for a homebound nation.
This is going to be one of those moments they're going to write about and they're going to talk about for generations.
Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York.
What am I going to do with 400 ventilators when I need 30,000? You pick the 26,000 people who are going to die.
Without naming the president, begging, cajoling, goading the federal government to take action.
If someone is unhappy, somebody wants to blame someone or complain about someone, blame me.
I don't take responsibility at all.
And there is President Donald Trump with another take on responsibility and reality.
I would love to have the country opened up and just raring to go by Easter.
The other major player in this drama of dueling daily briefings, Dr. Anthony Fauci from the National Institutes of Health, trusted scientist, setting the record straight.
Obviously, no one is going to want to tone down things when you see what's going on in a place like New York City. I mean that's just, good public health practice and common sense.
When Fauci isn't standing next to the president, a concerned public wonders why. All of which begs the question.
You don't have to have social distancing from dogs. Hi, how are you?
What does leadership look like in this time of crisis?
Thanks, Governor. Thank you. Thank you.
Governor Larry Hogan of Maryland would argue leadership looks like the nation's governors, far out in front of the feds in response to COVID-19, united in their bipartisan push to get what they need. A Monmouth University poll released last week found that 72% of Americans think their governor is doing a good job managing coronavirus, compared to 50% who think the president is.
What is essential and non-essential is essentially what you think it is.
We're learning governors' names as their states struggle. Cuomo of New York, Inslee of Washington, DeWine of Ohio, Whitmer of Michigan. Hogan, a popular Republican in an overwhelmingly Democratic state, is also chairman of the National Governors Association. We spoke outdoors at a distance in Annapolis, Maryland's capital.
I think this has been a time where governors really have led. We've been on the front lines and we've stepped up to make those tough decisions, and governors on both sides of the aisle, but also to push for more action from the federal level.
And why did you feel that that was necessary?
Well, because lives were at stake, because our citizens needed us to.
Is there any precedent for governors taking the lead? Yes.
When I think about FDR and the situation in the Depression before he became president, he's the governor of New York.
Historian Doris Kearns Goodwin's latest book is Leadership in Turbulent Times, published by Simon & Schuster, part of Viacom CBS.
And New York State was overwhelmed by the Depression, so he started taking action on his own, the first person in the nation as a governor to mobilize a comprehensive relief program.
Governor Franklin Delano Roosevelt filled the power vacuum left by President Herbert Hoover in the aftermath of the stock market crash in 1929. Hoover opposed federal intervention. He left it to the states and local governments to cope as the U.S. economy collapsed and the unemployment rate approached 25%. FDR was elected president in 1932, promising to take charge.
This nation is asking for action, and action now.
In his inauguration, he said, the reason we have a problem now was a failure of leadership. I've been elected president, it's a gift to me, and I'm assuming that responsibility.
Broad executive power to wage a war against the emergency, as great as the power that would be given to me if we were in fact invaded by a foreign foe.
All of the major leaders that are the three historic leaders in our country's history, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and FDR, faced a crisis, and they handled it really well. A crisis is a moment when the nation needs you.
How does this crisis stack up against World War II, the Depression, and so on? Is this truly a presidency-defining crisis?
There's no question that this is a defining crisis for our generation, in my judgment. And as a result of it being a defining time for our generation, it's going to be a defining time for the president. History will only know as time goes by, and it depends on how it all turns out, obviously, for how history will define the president's leadership.
And how every other leader is judged as well.
Where we are today, you will be in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. We are your future.
We have to get back to work. Our people want to work. They want to go back. They have to go back.
Who's right? The president or public health officials who say it's too soon? Who will win that argument? With what result?
The yeas are 96, the nays are 0.
And when the Senate passed the $2 trillion rescue package unanimously.
I'm proud to announce tonight not a single senator voted against this $2 trillion rescue bill.
Was that a glimmer of hope that a virulent disease had neutralized the virulent partisanship that's paralyzed Washington for so long? Was it leadership or a temporary truce? It's early days still, history's judgment premature. In the meantime, history can remind us how other Americans felt as they were living through earlier crises.
They don't know that it's going to turn out all right. They have to have faith. And one thing that history can do is to show you that somehow this country has lived through these tough times before, and we've gotten through it. And I think it gives us that perspective and that solace to make us feel not alone.